My name's Izzy. This is Rolling Virtual Cards, coming at you with another Magic the Gathering video. Commander deck build. This time, we've got Ajani, Nacatl, Pariah. Calling this deck Cat Friends. Let's just hop into the card by card. I'm gonna zoom in a little better so you can see them. There we go. Okay, Ajani Nacatl Pariah is 1 and a white for a 1/2 legendary creature cat warrior with the following effect. When it enters the battlefield, create a 2/1 white cat warrior creature token. Whenever one or more other cats you control die, you may exile Ajani, then return to the battlefield transformed under his owner's control. Ajani Nacatl Avenger. 3 loyalty legendary planeswalker Ajani, +2. Put a 1/1 counter on each cat you control. 0. Create a 2/1 white cat warrior creature token. When you do, if you control red permanent other than Ajani, he deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control to any target. -4. Each opponent chooses an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker from among non-land permanents they control, then sacrifices the rest. So, this does a lot. Let's go over this end game. So turn 2, this comes down as a 1/2 with his brother, a 2/1. Next. So then, in order to flip him, another cat you control has to die. At least one, if not more, have to die. So, supposedly if his brother dies, the 2/1, then he flips, which is exactly what happens in the story. Once you flip Ajani, he can do a few things. He can buff all your cats, giving them all +1/+1. After doing that, you can then -4 to remove your opponent's board, basically. They get 1 artifact, 1 creature, 1 enchantment, 1 planeswalker. Everything else gone. Noted. It doesn't affect battles, but it just says sacrifice the rest. Sacrifice the rest, meaning the rest of the permanents. So yeah, it will wipe their battles out, and those will flip, which is kind of funny, not gonna lie. And then you can just +2 it again. The big show for this card, though, is it's 0. Being able to make a 2/1 and then just deal damage equal to the number of creatures you control to any target is pretty decent. It's a nice big punch to an opponent. So this is a cat deck. And for all those people out there who are all like, oh, cool, finally a Boros commander, which, by the way, he is Boros because he's red on this side, that doesn't care about equipment, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. Some of the best cats care about the equipment. So let's talk about Ajani for a second and exactly why you'd want to play him, and then we'll get into the card by card. Like always, the main reason why I tell people to play a card is because you like them lore-wise. If you like Ajani and have always wanted an Ajani commander, you have one. You finally have an Ajani you can play as a commander, legally, without like a rules arrow. If you like cats, this is great. If you like board wipes, like controlling your opponent's tempo, like, hey, I'm going to slow everyone down, but not you, just your opponents, this is also great. Does a lot there. Not a casual commander because of that -4. That -4 is going to get you hated out of games. People aren't going to like you. It's not nice. Putting them all down to just, like, they're not going to usually have a planeswalker. They're probably just going to end up, they might have had 1 enchantment, but most of the time you're just wiping them down to 1 artifact and 1 creature, which is going to ruin their ramp, and you're not touching the land ramp guy, and people are going to get mad at you. The +1/+1 counter is because you're not in the right colors, doesn't do a lot. But, like, if you wanted an Ajani commander, you got him. That is the point of these flip planeswalkers, and that's what I love about it. And just like the previous flip planeswalkers, these really hit that point home of This is when he flipped. This is what happened. Let's get into the card by card. So first off, we got the +1/+1 counter stuff. This is all accidental synergy, just because it happens to be in here. First, you got Line Sash. This is 1 and a white for a 1/1 artifact creature equipment cat. And it gets a 1/1 counter. You can pay a white to exile a target card from your graveyard. If it's a permanent card, put a 1/1 counter on Lion Slash. And then the equipped creature, when you reconfigure this, gets +1/+1 for each 1/1 counter on him. Very nice to just get a nice big push to something and for interaction in the graveyard. Having stuff like this to be able to remove problematic graveyard decks is pretty nice. Ajani, Adversary Tyrant. I'm running a handful of Ajanis that just work in this deck because I think it's flavorful. But they also have to be flavorful in the deck itself, meaning like cat-based Ajanis. So 2 and 2 white for a 4 loyal, a legendary Planeswalker Ajani. +1, put a 1/1 counter on each up to 2 target creatures, giving them slight buff. Its -2 allows you to recur a creature from your graveyard with mana cost 2 or less. And it's -7, where the cat comes in. You get an emblem, and at the beginning of your end step, you make 3 1/1 white cat creature tokens with lifelink. Ajani, Strength of the Pride, is 2 and 2 white for a 5 legendary Planeswalker Ajani. +1, you gain life equal to the number of creatures you control, plus the number of Planeswalkers you control. It's -2. You get a 2/2 white cat soldier creature token named Ajani Pridemate. With whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on Ajani Pridemate. And its 0 is if you have at least 15 life or more, then your starting life total, exile Ajani, Strength of the Pride, and each artifact and creature your opponent controls. This, as long as you have like a decent amount of extra life, which can accidentally happen in this deck, I guess, can just wipe your opponent's side of the field, which is pretty cool. But mainly this is here just to +1, which gains you the life to 0 it, or -2 just to make those cats. Felidar Retreat is amazing. 3 and a white for an enchantment, landfall, soul added to the battlefield. Choose 1, make a 2/2 cat beast, there's your cat, or put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Those creatures get vigilance. Absolutely great way for protection so that you can swing out but still have stuff, and to slowly buff your group. And Cathar's Crusade is insane. I personally don't like this card, usually just because of how much tracking there is with it, especially with tokens, but it's a great card nonetheless. 3 and 2 white for an enchantment. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. So, cast a creature, the creature ETBs, put a 1/1 counter on all your creatures, including the one that entered. If that one makes a token, that token then enters, and you put a 1/1 counter on the creatures. The token has 1, everything else has 2, and then you play another. It just gets out of control, and is a great way to win the game. Ajani, Caller of Pride, is 1 and 2 white for 4 loyalty. Ajani, +1, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. Did that not end up in 1/1 counters? Apparently not. Let me fix that. Okay, it's fixed. It's -3, target creature gains flying and double strike till end of turn. That's where the abilities part comes in. If you have a damage ability, you can double trigger that off of Ajani. The flying is evasion, which is great. And then it's -8. Create X 2/2 white cat creature tokens for extra life total. If you get this out, and even if you're at 20, making 22 twos is gross. ETBs. Here's some triggers for ETBs. ETBs are always useful in so many ways. Impact Trimmers. You're making a lot of creatures. It is another red permanent to help trigger Ajani's damage thing. But since you're making so many creatures, just being able to deal 1 damage to each opponent for each of the cats coming in is so good. Tokasi's Welcome is 2 and a white for an enchantment. When one or more creatures with mana value 3 or less into the battlefield you control, draw a card. This ability triggers once each turn, which is fine because the tokens you make count for that. If you have a way to make tokens on your opponent's turn, you can trigger this multiple times. Ajani's Chosen, 2 and 2 white for a 3/3 cat soldier. When an enchantment enters the battlefield you control, you create a 2/2 white cat creature token. If the enchantment is an aura, you may attach to that token. This is great. It just gets you more cats. It's why we're running a few extra enchantments in this deck, just to trigger stuff like Ajani's Chosen. We went over Felidar's Retreat. Perforos, God of the Forge, is 3 and a red for a 6/5 legendary enchantment creature god with indestructible. And as long as your devotion to red is less than 5, it's not a creature. When another creature enters the battlefield under your control, deals 2 damage to each opponent. And for 2 and a red, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. That's just going to allow you, again, just to deal more damage to your opponent over time. And that 2 and a red to buff your creatures, doing that like 3-4 times near the end of the game can help you win. We went over Cathars and Regal Caracal. Caracal is 3 and 2 red, 3 and 2 white for a 3/3 creature cat. Other cats you control get +1/+1 and have lifelink. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 white cat creature tokens with lifelink. So this buffs your guys, gives you accident lifelink, and gives you a really nice way to just start pushing and keeping yourself alive. ETB Enabler, we're running one of those. We've just got Teleport Circle. It works. At the beginning of your end step, exile one target artifact or creature you control, return to the battlefield under your opponent's control. You can run more of these if you want. I just needed an extra card, and I thought Teleport Circle kind of works. Also, it's an enchantment, which works with like that one extra card. Kind of weird to think that I'm pushing that card, but it's useful. And there's enough like decent ETB stuff, like Peripherals on the field, flickering something's not bad. Original is not bad either. Rising of the Day is 2 and a red for an enchantment. Creatures you control have haste, and legendary creatures you control get +1/+0. This is a great finisher. The whole point is like it hits the field. Now all the tokens you're making can just swing in. So this plus something like Cathar's Crusade can just really help you. And in fact, if I just find finishers, I actually think that's up higher right now. There you go, yeah. You can kind of just flood the field with tokens and win. Ramp. We'll go over the ramp quickly. Boomstick. Boomtown Boomstick is 1 red for an artifact equipment. Equip creature gets +1/+0 and has menace, and when it deals combat damage, you make a token. Equip is 2. Good evasion. The +1's whatever, but it makes a token on damage. Diamond Pickaxe is a red for an equipment with indestructible, and the creature gets +1/+1, and whenever it attacks, you make a treasure. And equip is 2. Peering Blade is 1 for an artifact equipment. Equip 2. Equip creature gets +1/+0, and when it deals damage, you make a treasure. And Soul Ring taps are 2 colorless. Wayfarer Bauble grabs you a basic. Arcane Signet taps for any color your commander makes. Boros taps for... You can pay 1 to tap for a red and a white. Fellow Stern taps for any color your opponent can produce in their lands. Goldvine Pick is 2 for an artifact equipment. Equip creature gets +1/+1. When it deals damage, you make a treasure. Equip is 1. Mindstone taps for a colorless, but you can pay 1 to sack to draw a card. Talisman taps for a colorless or for a red or a white. And if you do that, it deals damage to you. Thought Vessel taps for a colorless, but you have no maximum hand size. And the Reaver Cleaver gives the equipped creature +1/+1, and it has trample. And when it deals damage to a player or planeswalker, you make that many treasures. We talked about the one recursion I have in the deck, which is the Ajani. I don't really talk about lands for the most part. Look at the lands. They do their land things, guys. I'll give you a little like look over here. Accidental life gain here. Blind Obedience is 1 and a white for an enchantment with Extort. So whenever you cast a spell, you can pay white or black to drain each opponent of 1 life and give you that much life. And artifact creatures you control, or in artifacts and creatures your opponent control to the battle of depth, which helps you get in for a little extra damage sometimes. Attended Healer is 3 and a white for a 2/3 core cleric, and whenever you gain life for the first time each turn, create a 1/1 white cat creature token, which is kind of cool because you got some life gain here, and making cats is good. And then 2 and a white, another cleric you control gets lifelink, which like not really doing that much. Cub Warden is 3 and a white for a 3/5 legend, or for a 3/5 creature cat with mutate for 2 and 2 white and lifelink. And whenever this creature mutates, you make 2 1/1 white cat creature tokens with lifelink. So this gives one of your creatures lifelink and gives you 2 cats with lifelink. You never want to cast it for its 3/5. I mean, you can if you think it's going to win you the game. Usually, though, just cast it for its mutate and get the 2 tokens and give whatever you have lifelink. Or if you put it on something smaller, you can make it a 3/5 and it has lifelink. Leonin War Leader is 2 and 2 white for a 4/4 cat soldier. When it attacks, you make 2 1/1 white cat creature tokens for lifelink that are tapped and attacking. That's a great way to just make cats each turn. Again, also accidental life gain. And we went right over Regal. Anthems. We got a few anthems here because we're going wide here. Flowing of the White Trees, 2 white for legendary enchantment. Legendary creatures you control get +2/+1 and have ward once. This protects your legendary creatures, which you have a few in this deck. It won't protect your Ajani when it's flipped. It also buffs them by +2/+1, and then non-legendary creatures get +1/+1, which is still a great way to just buff all your tokens. Kimba Ka Enduring is 1 and a white for a 2/2 cat cleric. And when it or another cat enters the battlefield you control, attach up to 1 target equipment you control to that creature. Here's one of the few cats that we're going to run into that like equipment. Equipped creatures you control get +1/+1. Nice anthem. And for 3 and 2 white, you make a 2/2 cat. Cool. Inspiring Leader. Commander creatures you own have creature tokens you control get +2/+2. This works, again, commander creatures you own. So as long as your commander isn't flipped. So if it dies, you can get it back for pretty cheap, and then buff all your creatures. King of the Pride is 2 and a white for a 2/1 cat. Other cats you control get +2/+1. And yeah, that's the whole point of this card. Literally just like a nice big punch to end the game. It's a nice damage output. We went over Rides of the Day. That anthem there is that +1/+0 to legendaries. Shard and Anatomy. Shared Animosity is 2 and a red for an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control attacks, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn for each other attacking creature that shares a creature type with it. So as long as you're attacking with like 5 cats, they're all going to get +4/+4. Lots of damage. And the last one here for Anthem is Raksha Golden Cub, 5 and 2 white for a 3/5 cat soldier, legendary. Vigilance, and as long as it's equipped, cat creatures you control get +2/+2 and have double strike. Get an equipment on this guy, maybe Kimba. Just Kimba's out in the field, cash Raksha, equip it because of how this works. And oh look, all my cats get +2/+2 and have double strike. That's a win con there. Here's the cats. Let's go over the cats. Firecat Blitz is X and 2 red for a sorcery. You make X 1/1 red cat creature tokens with haste into play. Remove them from the game at the end of turn. Flashback to red. Sacrifice X mountains. So this card is crazy in this deck. Here's why. This card can remove an opponent or win you the game. If you have Perforos out in the field and you do like X is 10, that's 20 damage to each of your opponents. Then if you got 2 extra red, you can flash this back. Sacrifice like 4 mountains and make 4 more tokens and possibly just end everyone, okay? The reason this works with Ajani is because all those tokens are creatures. And since they're creatures, Ajani sees all those creatures and goes, oh yeah, die. And just removes the opponent from the game. They're also all cats that have haste. So they can all attack with buffs from like Kimba. Because they can all get equipped, mind you. Or from all these cards. Oh, the Shared Animosity? Oh, I've got 10 of these guys? Well, they're all getting +9/+9. Not including the other creatures. So they're all +9/+0. They're all 10 ones. Like this card goes hard in this deck. And I love seeing some stupid little card go hard. Vanguard of Brimaz is 2 white for a 2/2 cat soldier. It's got Vigilance and Heroic. I don't think I'm running anything that can really target this card. So you're not making cat soldiers with it. Maybe you are. Maybe there's an instant or something that can target it. Who knows? I tossed him in here because it made tokens. But it's not bad. 2/2 for a 2 with Vigilance. That's a cat soldier. Is not bad. We went over Ajani. Oh, here we go. Brimaz, King of Oreskos is 1 and 2 white for a 3/4 cat soldier with Vigilance. It's a legendary creature, and when it attacks, you make a 1/1 white cat soldier creature token with Vigilance on the battlefield attacking. And when it blocks, you make a 1/1 white cat soldier creature token Vigilance on the battlefield blocking that creature. So this makes a cat on attack and on block, and it's got Vigilance. So you always want to block with it, you always want to swing with it, and just keep making those cats. Here's the other Kimba. This is the newer Kimba. This is the older Kimba. But at the beginning of your upkeep, create a 2/2 white cat creature token for each equipment attached to Kimba Ka region. That's 1 and 2 white for a 2/4 cat cleric. The cleric card's making more sense, by the way, because there's a lot of cat clerics. Well, maybe not a lot. There's a few. But yeah, this just makes cats at your upkeep for all the equipment on them. That's pretty good. White Sun Zenith is X and 3 white for an instant, and you make X 2/2 white cat creature tokens. Then you shove it back into the library. This is great just to hold on at your opponent's instant. Oh, on your this guy's instant, the guy to your right before your turn, and you just go make 10 cats, make 5 cats. Put this back in my deck. They technically have haste, so it's a nice speedy card. Oh, we went over. Okay. Balin, Wandering Cat. Wandering Cat is 2 and 2 white for a 3/3 legendary creature cat knight with first strike, and it has double strike as long as it has 2 more equipment attached to it. And for 1 and a white, attach all equipment you control to Balin. This is cool. If you can get evasion on him and swing, you can just equip all the equipment to him if no blockers are declared, and just buff him and like one-shot someone. That's all the cats we talked about. Next, just some damage output. Okay, yeah, here's some of the other cards, but we'll talk about it. Simian Sling is a red for a 1/1 artifact creature, equipment monkey. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. When Simian Sling or equipped creature becomes blocked, it deals 1 damage to defending player. Reconfig 2. Yeah, it's an equipment creature. We're running all the equipment creatures, I believe, just because it works in this deck. All that glitters is cool. 1 and a white for an enchant or enchant creature. Enchant creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact and or enchantment you control. This is just a great way to one-shot someone because you're running so many equipments. Blind Obedience went over. Boros Charm, a red and a white for an instant. Choose 1. Boros Charm deals 4 damage to target player or planeswalker. Permanents you control gain indestructible until end of turn. Target creature gains double strike till end of turn. This has got damage to your opponent. It's got protection for your permanents, and it's got extra damage with that double strike. Goblin Bombardment's 1 in a red enchantment. Sacrifice a creature, it deals 1 damage to any target. This allows you to really push that, like, if some people have, like, a little extra life left, and you're like, oh, I can win, let me just sack these, like, 10 creatures, and, like, 5 damage to you, or, like, 3 here, 7 here, I win. Like, if you can do that, nice win. Let's see. Oh, Lizard Blades is 1 in a red for a 1/1 artifact creature. Equipment Lizard with double strike. An equipped creature has double strike. Reconfigure is 2. Ogre Headhelm is 1 in a red for a 2/2 artifact creature. Equipment Ogre. Equipped creature gets +2/+2, and whenever it or the equipped creature deals damage to player, you may sacrifice it. If you do, discard your hand, then draw 3 cards. Reconfigure 3. Put this on a token that might be able to hit someone, and good way to just draw some cards. Kumanu Battle Armor is 2 in a red for a 2/2 equipment dog with menace. An equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has menace, and when it deals combat damage to player, you get to goad each creature that player controls, which is a great way to just kind of get them wide open for next turn. And the Reaver Cleaver went over. Same thing with Rakasha and Perforos. Draw. We got a few draw here. Skull Clamp is 1 generic for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, and whenever a equipped creature dies, you draw 2 cards. Equip 1. Great way to just remove your small kitty cats and draw some cards. Mask of Memory is 2 for an artifact equipment, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may draw 2 cards. If you do, discard a card. Equip 1. So that's giving you at least a +1 and some card selection there. Mindstone we went over. Rogue's Gloves is 2 generic for an artifact equipment. When a equipped creature deals damage to a player, you may draw a card. Equip 2. Just a nice draw every combat damage, and with the double strikers you have in the field, not bad. Sword of Fire and Ice is 3 generic for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from red and blue. When a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, Sword of Fire and Ice deals 2 damage to a creature, and you draw a card. Equip 2. So this has got some nice interaction, dealing 2 damage to removing like a small creature, and then drawing a card each hit is good. And that +2/+2 is fine. The red and blue protection is pretty nice. And then you have the Armored Sun Sky Hunter, which I just noticed wasn't in the cats. My bad. But 3 and a white for a 3/3 cat knight with flying, so it's got a nice evasion. And whenever it attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may put an aura equipment card from among them onto the battlefield. If an equipment card is put on the battlefield way, you may attach it to your creature control. Put the rest on the battle of your library in a random order. This is pretty nice. It's got flying, so you can put like the Sword of Fire Ice on it, or like gloves, or like this is technically an equipment card. So Ogre can hit the field, and you can just equip it on him and just sack Armored Sky Hunt and just ditch your hand and draw 3 cards. Not bad. There's a few things that are fun to equip to it, or something else. And mind you, if you have stuff like, yeah, like, this guy, the creature will get +1/+1, which is buff them. That's not bad. This is just the few cards that care about equipment. There's not a lot, but there's enough to, like, warrant, like, building the deck around it, which was kind of fun. Now, this is the equipped creatures. There's a few, I think there's just one here, or two here that we missed. Rabbit Battery, which is red for a 1/1 artifact creature equipment rabbit with haste. An equipped creature can +1/+1 and has haste. Reconfigure for red. And Bronze Plate Boar, which is 2 in a red for a 3/2 artifact creature equipped boar. Trample, equipped creature gets +3/+2 and has trample. Reconfigure 5. It gives nice evasion and some good damage output. The reason I'm running these cards, and there's not a lot of them, but the reason I'm running them is because a lot of these are red permanents that are equipments that work with your equipment cards, but they're also creatures that count towards this part. It deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control. So you can, like, if they're not equipped, you can just kind of use that part to really push the damage you can get with that. Some evasion. I think I went over all the evasions. Yeah, we went over the evasion cards. Oh, wait, there's one here that I missed. Because, of course, I missed, this guy. Let me put him in, equipped creature. Boop, boop. There we go. So he's 2 in a white for a 3/2 artifact creature equipment Chiron with flying, so it's got good evasion. And equipped creature gets flying, and you can't lose the game, and your opponents can't win the game, which is a great way to just say, hey, you got to get rid of Cloudstone, steal Chiron, and also the creature equipped to it. And reconfigure is 5, but, like, yeah, it's like a nice way to just not lose the game. Interaction, we're running some decent interaction cards, I guess. Blast from Bazak is the board wipe. Path and Swords, exile stuff. Path giving them land, and Swords giving them life. And a Braid deals 3 damage to a creature or destroys target artifact. That's my alarm. Just ignore that. And then down here, we've got, your Mana Sinks that we talked about, your life gain. This one's actually, like, meant to be life gain, and the reason why is because you want to gain life in order to trigger that effect. We went over the protections. Here's one. This never gated to anthems? Of course not, because I miss stuff too often. Let's go ahead and fix that. We'll just shove it in anthems. There we go. Anyway, it's in protection because it gives them vigilance. But creature tokens you control get +1/+1 have vigilance. That's a nice way to just make all your little token cats more threatening. Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots actually both get to be placed somewhere else. We'll run into that in just a second. But Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots both give Shroud and Hexproof, respectively. The other protections, like this one, Vigilance. We haven't gone over this guy yet. But the protection here is you can't lose the game. And Swords is the actual word protection. But Iroh's God of Victory is 2, a red, and a white for 7/4 legendary enchantment creature god. Indestructible. As long as your devotion to red and white is less than 7, it isn't a creature. Creatures you control have menace. Great way to get in. And prevent all damage that were to be dealt to attacking creatures you control. Which is also just a great way to prevent them from dying. I don't care if I swing my stuff. They can't die. And here's, like, one of the newest tags I started, which was Speed. I put this for haste, honestly, just because it's, like, a nice way to just, hey, look, these are in here because you can just hit someone hard when they're not expecting it. They're like, yeah, you can't get me out of the game. Oh, look, you have Lightning Greaves. Crap. There's the 2 stacks pieces I'm running. We haven't gone over Authority of the Council, but 1 generic for an enchantment. Creature your opponent control into the battlefield tapped. And when a creature is a battlefield under opponent control, you draw a card. This is also accidental life gain. That's my bad. Accidental life gain. I think that was up here. Here we go. Evasion. There we go. So yeah, the whole point of this card is just to be able to gain some life off your opponent's stuff, but also to have their stuff come in tapped, slow them down, and be able to hit them. These are the token generators. We've gone over them. Either they generate tokens or they care about tokens. Tribal. I know there's the new, I think it's called Kindred now. With the newest set, they've changed that. I named it Tribal before Kindred was a thing. Otherwise, I would have named it Kindred. But you can't, You can't change the tag. You got to go in and add Kindred and remove the old tag, and that sounds like a lot of work. So I'm not doing that, unfortunately. Apologies to those who it bothers. The two wipes I have, and that's really the deck. Maybe not like everyone's favorite design for the deck, but the push here is really just, what is it that you really want to do with Ajani, right? Like, his front side isn't doing anything, right? His front side's like, I make a cat token, please kill it. Just kill my cat token, brother, so I can get my powers. So you get his powers, and now I'm running cats. You saw I ran a few cats, and all those cats are going to get buffed. And all the tokens you make, all those token cats are going to get buffed. They get a 1-1 counter. Cool. Again, you don't really have cat counter doublers because you're not in green like he normally is. So, like, okay, cool. That's fine. That makes sense. I'll just buff the cats. A +1/+1 to them is fine. Mainly you're just doing that so that you can -4 and keep your opponent out of the way. And then you're down to 1, and then you +2 to 3, and then you +2 again to 5, and then you -4. And then you just keep repeating this process. The only time you zero is when you can remove a problematic creature, because deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control to any target. So if you need to remove a problematic creature, you can do that. If you think if Peripherals can end someone with an extra 2/1, or like an extra ETB, or if you can just remove an opponent, like, oh, that opponent's at 10 life, I have 10 creatures or 9 creatures even. And I can just +0 this, make a cat, and then just boom, they're gone. That's when you're going for the 0. And you can do the 0 anytime. It doesn't matter what your loyalty's at. So you're mainly just buffing your cats once, wiping their field. Buffing your cats twice, wiping your field. Just repeat that process. Buff, wipe, buff, buff, wipe. Buff, buff, wipe, buff, buff, wipe. Buff, buff, wipe. So it's buff, wipe, and then from then on it's buff, buff, wipe, buff, buff, wipe, buff, buff, wipe. And you keep your opponents down on cards. They can't keep up. That's where you're getting them. That, like, grindy mid-range feel of, like, you guys can't keep your stuff on the field. I can. I'm just going to keep swinging at you. Oh, look, I wiped your side of the field and you only have 1 creature each, and now I'm just going to swing it at you with my army of cats that have been buffed. So that's really what you're aiming for here. I'm just happy we finally have a legally playable Ajani or a Ajani legendary creature for the commander. So, let me know what your favorite card from the deck was. Let me know what you thought about the deck, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Everyone have a great night. Peace.